Hey everybody, sorry if the video is a little squished today. I'm trying to zoom in more so you can see my fingers and we can talk. I'm going to talk a little bit about music theory today. We're going to talk about the 12 Greek modes, which is the most common used music theory in Western music, either rock or country or most Christian music. Everybody's using these scales. We're going to talk about these today, and they should be able to be the most functional scales you'll use. Now, it's a little complicated. I've got some graphics I'll add in post-processing, so I'll try to make it easy. And I'll probably do it across 2 lectures. Now, I want to talk, when I talk about scales, I'm going to talk about numbers a lot, because when I work with professional musicians, they talk in numbers. They don't use absolute notes. It's not that they don't know the notes, they want to be able to change keys easily. They want to be able to, it's just faster and more efficient to talk about positions, especially when you're playing guitar. Let's take a look at just a scale like the G scale. Right? Now, the G scale, to any circle of fifth musical theorist knows it's G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. Right? But that's also a pattern. Notice this pattern. By the way, I could play that pattern with C. Remember C. C, nothing's flatted, right? Right? C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Right? Notice that I played the same pattern as I played here for the G. But if you look in the circle of fifths in music theory, you'd see G is G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. What about C? C should have no flats or sharps, right? In the circle of fifths. That's the one thing about C, is it doesn't have any flats or sharps. It's all the white keys on the keyboard, right? Well, I'm going to play that same pattern. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. It's the same pattern. So there's key number 1. There are patterns that you can play on the bass to keep you in the right key. And the first pattern to learn is the number 1 pattern. I'm going to give you 7 patterns, and we're going to number them. Pattern number 1. It's the pattern that starts with the root note of the scale. So if you're in the key of G, the pattern is, that's the first note. The second note is 2 frets down, same string. Third note is go down 1 string and back up a fret. Start there, back up a fret. Go forward 1/2 step, 1 fret. 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are the first 4 notes in that scale, in this pattern. It doesn't matter where, if you're playing in A, if you're playing in, anywhere on the neck, when you start there and you're playing 1, 2, 3, 4 of that scale. That pattern works anywhere on the neck for the scale. So we're playing in the key of G, first 4. 5 is right here. 5 is I'll talk about some important notes in the scale in a minute. That's 5. 6 is right here. It's right on top of 3. So I went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But I'm going to go to a whole step, 7, because the 7 in a scale is 1/2 step below the octave. Right? You notice if you play the octave, they don't beat, they're the same note. That's the major scale. And the 1 scale. It's called the Ionian Scale. There's Greek names for each one of these. They're that important. They have their own name. They have their own number. And the reason why is, if I play the 1 pattern, if we're playing G, if we're playing in the key of G, and everybody's playing G chords and they're all playing G, I can noodle around on this pattern, and every note I'm playing is going to be in the strum somewhere of the chords that everybody else is playing. Because if we're playing in G, then they're playing major chords. No matter how, when somebody writes a music in key of G, if their root note is G, then the chord that they're playing is a major scale. So I know this pattern is going to work. Or they're not playing in the scale. They're not playing in the key of the song. So it just gives me a pattern that if we're all on the number 1 note of the scale, then I can play in that pattern, and I know every note's in the key of G. Now, So in any song, when you look at the song, you'll see two things about the song right off the bat: the tempo and the key that the song's in, and that's what they're talking about. This song's in G, then these are the notes that will be played. They're either played one at a time, or they're played all at the same time when somebody's playing a chord. When they're played one at a time, that's called arpeggiating scale. And they play them like a lot of, people might play chords. You do chords down here, they sound better than down here. But 1, 3, 5 of that is a chord. And so that'll be a three note chord or a 4-note chord. They'll play 4 of those notes. A 5-note chord, they play 5 of those notes. And the other chord variations, they're adding the 9, or they might flat something, but it's still going to be a major scale if it's off of 1. Now, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That is, so if we're playing in G and somebody says, let's all go to the 5, they're not going to say, let's all go to D. They're going to say, let's go to the 5. If they say we go to the 3, let's go to the 3, because that's the 3 in the key of G. Now you know all those notes now. Because you know that one scale, the number 1 scale, then you know that's 7, that's 6, that's 5, that's 3, that's 4, that's 1, that's 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's just dwell on this just for a moment, because this has so many things in it. I talk about these numbers all the time. I said this goes to a 6. In past videos we've talked about that a lot. And that's what we're talking about. Now, if I'm in the key of A, these are all different notes. Right? Same pattern though. But they're all different notes because they're in the key of A. But that's still the 3rd, that's still the 5th, that's still the octave, that's still the 7th, that's still the 6th, that's still the 5. Okay? Follow. Okay, now back down to G. There's a couple of notes, there's a couple of these that come that show up a lot in bass, because bass is generally not playing chords. And they play chords as just for some kind of effect, but normally you're arpeggiating scales. You're playing one note at a time. So, if we're in G, and the band is playing, the guys that are playing chords are playing some kind of a major scale of G. So I'm playing the root note. The singers are listening to me because they want that root note, because they're singing off of that root note. And if there's any chords going on, if we're in G, they're going to be playing some major G, some G major. Okay. Well, in that scale, the 5 is not flatted. So when everybody's playing G, you can noodle here between 5 almost always. And when you look through all these scales, rarely ever is the 5 flatted. The 5 is usually a major 5. So you can pretty much count on the 5 in almost wherever you're ever. And that's why the most common, kind of calliope. Now, another thing is, in a lot of blues music, which therefore means it bleeds into country and bleeds into rock, will flat the 7. I just played 1, 5, 1, 5, 1, 5, 1, 7, 5, 4, 1. And there's pentatonic scales that do this. You can see guitar players doing this all the time. Watch them when they're playing their solos. A lot of times they're just hammering up and down between, between 2 frets going up and down the strings, the pentatonic scales. So you do see this. Normally the 7 is here, right? Normally the 7's here, but you do see a lot of flatting of the 7th, right? So, but anyway, 1, 5. You hear this a lot too, don't you? Well, what are they doing? Well, what's the note? That's 5. Well, what's the note right on top of G? Well, if that's 5, then that's also 5. So 5 is on top of your root note, and it's also in this position. So you might see. So you go. So 5 is that 5th position is a really important position playing bass. Another one that really colors what's going on is the 3, the 3rd note. That's a major 3. That 3 is, it's the 3, when I say major, it's the 3 that you see in the major scale. So that's the 3. G, A, B, B, in the key of G, B is natural, right? Well, what really colors a lot of chords is whether the 3 is natural or whether it's flatted. In a minor scale, it'll be flatted, and it makes the chord a little dark. So some of these scales, as we go through them, I'll show you these patterns. To be able to stay in the key of G in that pattern, the 3 is going to get flatted, and that will be a minor scale that you're arpeggiating when you're playing it. Okay, so, but we're going to stay minor, stay with the major scale. And you hear the major scale sounds nice and happy. The minor scale gets a little. It gets a little dark on you. And a lot of times they'll flat other things to keep and make it more dark, but we'll talk about that later. But anyway, so anyway, in the major scale, we probably won't talk about that. Let's stay with the major music theory here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, the major scale. Make sense? Okay, I'll put in some graphics with this and post-process it. And then I'll come back later and show you some more of these scales and talk about some more tidbits along this music theory. Catch you later.